95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Doms, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Let's go out here for Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 to lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the final round of the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series, the 2023 A portion, as we are here today for the LeMans Endurance, and we gear up for what will be some exciting racing for the drivers here today. Points shaping up to be a little bit of a battle between teammates Alex Penn and Nick Terrell as they look to see who is going to come away as champion after today's race is said and done. And as always, my name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you all the action here today, 1080p 60 frames a second, as we gear up again for the 3 hours of endurance racing here at Le Mans. We prepare for what will be, I think, a spectacle to behold. As qualifying currently underway, drivers now going to utilize the time that they have here for lone car qualifying and to see what they can put down here for their best time. See where they're going to start on the starting grid, and hopefully we will get to see some great action going into the first few laps of today's race. This is a circuit that personally I've only been able to be a part of for broadcast, I think only 1 or 2 times. So this will be a great refresher to be back here at the legendary circuit, where we will see, I believe, a lot of excitement, a lot of competitive action as drivers look to secure points and they get themselves ready to close out what will be has been a relatively long first portion of the 2023 season here. It has been great racing throughout this first section, and hopefully moving into the 2023 B portion, we will continue to see that trend of great racing and more drivers looking to get that endurance itch here with Team Goon Squad in the Endurance Series. So far, we have yet to see a driver come across the line here to put down an official time, and I believe the first drivers that are going to be doing that here are just about halfway through the track here at the moment. We're currently watching along with Nathan Lafayette with Penguin Racing as he makes his way through the chicane here. If I'm remembering the track layout correctly, it has been a little while since I have been here, but we do have that little bit of a chicane on the long straightaway that will slow up the field just a little bit and provide, hopefully, a little bit of action for us up here watching the broadcast from home. And for those of you who are tuning in here today and enjoying the action. Thank you all for joining us today and being a part of the final round of the 2023B portion, or 2023A portion of our season as well. Giving a shout out to both Gareth McAllister as well as Martha in the chat, being a part of the experience and getting to chat along with you folks here today is going to be a pleasure, as we've got a lot of great action here today to look forward to and starting to see the first times being set by drivers in the LMDh class. Jacob Money and Adam High in the second place position. Currently at the moment, a 3:24.95 is going to be the best time to beat here for the LMDh field, as Alex Penn has a huge incident here going off and into the sand trap and ultimately carrying way too much speed. I'm not sure what was happening behind the wheel for Alex Penn, but I'm more than certain that he definitely got a little bit of a wake-up there, if he wasn't already prepared for today's 3-hour event, as we tune along with Marco Schmitz, the Traumos Pink 27 machine, here with a 3:58.84 as his best time, just 0.3 of a second behind the Bluebird Racing leader, Niels Blauwickel. And you can see the best times on the left-hand side of your screen, as, again, drivers are going to get a little bit of temperature into the tires here today. Going to try and, well, utilize the final 5 minutes that we have left here to improve their times and get a time on the board if they haven't already. You can see Nick Terrell, the number 81 machine, here with the Penn Sport team, going to be up there on the second place spot. And while I say team, Nick Terrell and Alex Penn, they might be driving for the same Penn Sport name, but they are definitely competing in the point standings, where right now, as I've been told, or from what I understand, is that there is about 9 points separating these two drivers, with Alex Penn currently holding on to that lead position, as Alex is still down here kind of reevaluating his life decisions here as he recovers from that bit of a wreck that he just experienced here in qualifying. Again, just under 4 minutes now left to go, and we're still seeing some drivers looking to improve their lap times here, try and close the gap here just a little bit. In the GT3 class, we can see anywhere between a second all the way up to unfortunately Jeremy Barber's position, where he's looking at looking at a rather significant deficit that he's going to have to try and recover from here in qualifying. And if he's not able to, hopefully at the start of the race he'll be able to keep up the pace and not fall off too terribly much here. But again, this series is also a series that is welcoming to drivers that are looking to learn more, looking to improve their racecraft. And so it is a perfect environment for drivers to still race alongside drivers who are maybe veterans in the endurance setting, and get a little bit of an idea of what it's like from the perspective of whether it's, again, seasoned veterans in the endurance series or drivers who have maybe just gotten started and are also willing to help out their fellow noobs, if you will. And as I'm understanding as well, Gareth McAllister, as I'm being told in chat, is only going to be able to race for the first hour and a half to roughly 2 hours. So unfortunately won't be able to make the whole race, and I'm a little sad to see that. But sometimes that is the way things end up working out, as real life always takes precedent over the sim world. So as I always understand. But we do have quite a healthy field here today, and I am certainly excited to see how things are going to start to shape up here, as we are just under, about a minute left before the checkered flag is waved here for qualifying in, we get ourselves ready to line up and kick things off here at Le Mans for the 2023 A final round. And we're already starting to see drivers taking it behind the wall, getting themselves prepared to kick things off, get lined up and gridded up for the start of today's race. So with just about 30 seconds left to go, we're watching along with Nathan Lafayette with Penguin Racing, the 00 machine, as currently sitting at 10th. 10th position in the GT3 class. He's going to be looking to maybe try and improve this lap time, but it doesn't seem like he's pushing too aggressive, or too much, I should say, here at this moment. So I think just ultimately trying to get a good feel for the line work and just make sure he's got everything down to a T, as there it is. The checkered flag is waved, and we are going to bring it down to the checkered line, where we see drivers getting gridded up here for the very first time here at Le Mans to kick things off for the final race of the 2023 A portion of the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. Let's go up to the front row with the LMDh class. It's Nick Terrell and Jordy Vermeulen in the front row. Jacob Money, Jared Davis going to be in our second row. Dylan Meyer and Adam High in the third row. Ivan Chambers and Alex Penn in the fourth row, rounding out our LMDh field. Starting off in the GT3 class, we have Jared Ziegler and Marco Schmitz in the fifth row. Niels Blauwickel, Oscar Gergerson in our sixth row. Moving ourselves down the grid here just a little bit, Darren Rutherford and Scott Meredith in our seventh row. Renato Koisev and Donovan Johnston in our eighth row. Norman King and Nathan Lafayette in our ninth row. Jeremy Barber and Gareth McAllister taking up the 10th row, and Adam Oliveri in our final row here in 21st. 21 total drivers that we have out here on track today, and as they get themselves ready to go, the lights are, well, I should say the green flag is about to light up here for our pace car, our safety car, and that will set off our very first pace lap of the race, as drivers just patiently awaiting for the quote-unquote green light, if you will. All right, so away we go. Here for the LMDh field, they will be the first drivers to get the green flag as we come out of the final few turns here at Le Mans. Le Mans, a nearly 8.5-mile track with a lot of straights and a lot of technical turns here as well. This is going to be the challenge of the season. And I should say the last time, the real challenge of the season was the Nürburgring. But unfortunately, we did not get to cover that here on the Team Goon Squad channel. But I am more than certain that the action there was more than chaotic. But here at Le Mans, I think things are going to be much the same, as points are winding down to the very, very nitty-gritty, and we get ourselves a good first-hand look at what our LMDh field is going to really try and attempt here in the opening laps of this race. We've got Nick Terrell, who's leading the pack, and Alex Penn, who's starting at the tail end of the LMDh class. So when you remember, at the beginning of the broadcast, when I mentioned that here as the green flag drops here from the flag stand, and away we go for the very first time here at Le Mans. Jordi Vermeulen, Nick Terrell, they go side by side, and also Jacob Money going to take it 3 wide here as they all look to squeeze an inch out of each other. Jacob Money goes wide. Jordi Vermeulen, Nick Terrell, seems like all of these drivers having to give up a little bit of pace here. Jacob Money as well, having to slow down that number 2 machine as much as he can. He's going to have to give up that time. Now dropping back to third as Jared Davis, Jordi Vermeulen move up and into first and second. Back in the GT3 class, things have settled out here a little bit more than what we have seen here for the LMDh class. Currently up at the front of the pack, Jared Ziegler with Marco Schmitz and Niels Blauwickel. They make contact side by side into the wall. Let's hope that nothing else comes from it here as these drivers come to a near stop almost in the center of the racetrack. Marco Schmitz, here in the number 27 Traumos Pink Ferrari, suffering, I would have to assume, probably the most significant damage out of both drivers. Back up to the LMDh field, we've got Ivan Chambers and Adam Huai having a little bit of a battle here as they go nearly nose to tail with one another. We're riding on board with Ivan Chambers now. You can see just how close he's trying to keep things here. He was side by side with him for a moment. Adam there having a little bit of a wider line on the exit. And that's going to allow Ivan here to get right into the slipstream, as we're going to ride into the passenger side along with Ivan Chambers here in the 050 VR Racing Pink Machine. Trying to close that gap down as much as he can. But so far for the LMDh field, things have gotten single file and not much else has been seen from it. Marco Schmitz, unfortunately, having all of that damage, dropping down to 13th and losing quite a bit of pace here because of it. And while the LMDh field has, and excuse me for it saying the LMP2, that's incorrect. We're going to go ahead and try and fix that for you here. That's better. Back up ahead, we've got trouble for Jared Davis as he was attempting to battle for what I believe was the lead. Jordi Vermeulen able to escape from that. Nick Terrell now going to be on the chase of the number 16 Quantum Pro Racing driver. Goes alongside, looking to get some action. He makes it work. And it looks like Jared Davis is now going to be left to try and fend off Dylan Meyer and Adam Huai, who are both closing in on the 16 driver. Much of the LMDh field has kept within about 2 seconds of one another. We'll continue to keep an eye on that as this race progresses on. I do believe it will be some time before we start to see the field really stretch out and we see those gaps start to increase quite rather significantly. But so far at the moment, Oscar Gergerson and Darren Rutherford having a bit of a battle for second place in the GT3 class. We ride on board now with the 213 Lamborghini driver with Valhalla Motorsports. Great look on board there with Darren Rufford for just a moment, but back here in the LMDh field, Ivan Chambers and Alex Penn, they continue to have a little bit of a battle here for the 6th place position. Alex Penn again trying to move up spots here. Ivan Chambers goes off track. That's going to open the door for Alex Penn. He moves up into 6th place, and it's clean air ahead of him. All he's got to do now is track down the number 98 of Adam Huai, who sits about 2 seconds just ahead of him for the Valhalla Motorsports team. Norman King here with the MSR car green. Having a little bit of trouble here. I'm not sure exactly what might have been the issue. Let's take a quick look at the instant replay and see exactly what it might have been. I think just trying to let other drivers by or something along those lines. Oscar Gergerson, Darren Rufford continue the battle as well. You can see just behind them Renato Koisev and Scott Meredith still having a bit of a battle. Scott's going to take it to the outside as our timing and scoring has a little bit of a refresh there for a moment, but we still see drivers looking to gain some positions here early on, which frankly is probably the only time throughout this race that you are going to have that opportunity. This could be one of those races where there's not going to be much in the way of cautions or safety cars or anything of that nature. It's really going to it's going to be a battle of attrition. It's going to matter how well you're able to turn laps here and stay consistent on your pace. So once drivers start to pull away from one another and we start to see gaps of anywhere between 5+ seconds, that's really going to have an impact on drivers being able to, close the gap, being able to start and have some fights with one another. And that point in the race isn't too far away. It's not as far as one might think. Here at Le Mans, I mean, with how big this track is, again, for those of you that might have missed it, it is nearly 8.5 miles long. That is a very, very large circuit. So there's a lot of room for these drivers to work with. I'm more than certain at some point the LMDh field will start to get intermingled with the GT3s, as we're starting to see Jordy close in on Jacob Money, the number 2 Sapphire Sim Sport driver. Currently the leader overall, as well as in the LMDh class. Jacob Money going to look to fend off his lead position here from Jordy, who in previous races that we've broadcasted here on Team Goon Squad, Jordy Vermeulen has done quite well in the past, so I would expect that the VR Racing Blue 040 machine is going to be another contender to look out for here in the series. Nick Terrell, Nick Terrell and Alex Penn, both with the Penn Sport machines. They have shown, obviously, really, really great strength performances throughout this season, given that both of them are holding the 1 and 2 spots in the championship at the moment. So Nick Terrell currently sitting in that 3rd place position, going to try and see if maybe at this point in the race, I mean, it might even be just a matter of trying to just keep your head down and not make mistakes, as we just see Adam Y, the 98 driver for Valhalla Motorsports, get off into the grass there just for a little bit, but brings it back onto the track with no harm, no foul. And it does not look like any other drivers were involved in that situation either. Back up to the GT3 field, Darren Rutherford makes the move on Oscar Gergerson. And up into the second place position for the 213 Valhalla Motorsports driver. And Oscar going to stay right on the tail of Darren. We can see that here from the nose camera of the 227 BMW. Well, it looks like we've already seen some retirements from the race here today, as Gareth McAllister is experiencing netcode issues, so that is going to be our first retirement. As I'm surprised that other drivers haven't already parked their cars for the evening, seeing some incidents here. Both in qualifying and practice, but looks like that everyone has been able to get the jitters out and is looking to have a good race here today. Good stints overall, and some of these drivers, they are going to be running the solo stints, so they will be racing the whole 3 hours by themselves. Some other drivers, or other cars, I should say, they might have one or two drivers in the car throughout the race, so we'll have to wait and see if there will be any switch-ups here at any point, but for the time being, I would say majority of the field is going to be solo drivers, as far as I'm aware. Tuning back into the LMDh class, it is Nick Terrell, Jordy Vermeulen, both sitting at second and third, where we left them, and just seeing if Nick Terrell is going to be able to close this distance between Jordy and try and put the attack on him here, or if he's even going to make that decision in the first place. You know, it's endurance racing is going to be a lot of kind of like a very complicated game of chess. Or even Risk, if you've ever played that board game before. Anyway, tuning into some of the various battles that we're seeing develop around the track here, and mostly it's going to be drivers just trying to keep their lines as smooth as possible, not really trying to interfere with others. And also just trying to make way around other drivers that may not have the fastest line, the fastest pace. Again, there are some drivers in the field that aren't going to be looking to have sort of battles going on near them or around them. They just want to have their race. They want to finish, and that's pretty much all that they're looking to do. Other drivers, however, they might be looking for those nose-to-tail, door-to-door battles, which I do expect we will see variously throughout the race here, but I do think it will take some time. Jordy Vermeulen, however, meanwhile, looking to try and put a bit of pressure here on Jacob Money in the lead position, as he's worked the gap down to about a quarter of a second. And now Jacob Money going to have to fend off that 040 machine. Jordan Vermeulen going to look to the outside. The draft is going to play in his favor. Down the long straightaway, it is a drag race all the way down to the chicane. Jacob Money going to have the advantage this time by, but as they come out of the chicane back onto the straight, Vermeulen's going to be able to get right back into that draft and possibly be able to pull the slingshot move here again. Let's see if he's going to be able to. I'm not sure if he's going to have enough room here before the next chicane. But with all of these long straightaways that we have here at Le Mans, I think it really plays in these cars' favors, being able to utilize that to their advantage. Just let them fully open throttle and really kind of get in line with one another and build up a little bit of draft. And it's interesting how well these cars kind of they work here. I mean, obviously they're designed to drive very well at tracks like this, so it's not necessarily any surprise, I'm sure, to a lot of you. But someone like me who doesn't necessarily get to experience endurance racing outside of what we do here with Team Goon Squad, it does put a certain kind of smile on my face, to say the least. Meanwhile, back in the GT3 class, it's Marco Schmitz and Nathan Lafayette, who were side by side for just a moment here, and you can see the Tramos Pink 27 machine, the 27 Ferrari. The front end has definitely seen better days. I don't think the pit crew is really going to try and risk putting anything back together on the front end of that vehicle for the time being. I mean, given that the engine is all going to be in the back of that car, so or am I mistaken? Is the Ferrari a mid-engine, or is it I can't remember now. I think it's a mid-engine car. Anyway, point being, although the front end looks like it's looks like Marco kind of just pulled up to the scrapyard with a tow truck, the exotic scrapyard, and he's like, hey, I need that. Load it up. And, just dragged it to the track and somehow managed to pass tech without, a hood, just a front end, basically. Yeah, hey, props. Racing on a budget, you got to make it happen, you got to make it work. So Marco Schmitz out here, the 27 driver, even through all jokes aside, through all of the, I guess, trauma for the start of this race here, quite literally, all the way back up into 7th. So Marco Schmitz, I mean, not exactly out of the picture here entirely, but still going to be fighting an uphill battle, I would have to say. Alex Penn, though, he is having some trouble here. As well as Jeremy Barber. Let's take a look at see what happened to Alex Penn here first, to cause our timing software to be flagged here. Oh boy. Oh. And it is a very, very close incident here for both drivers, particularly for Jeremy, as he was kind of left there in the middle of the track, and luckily, thanks to the experience of the drivers in the LMDh class, they were able to avoid the incident without cause, and frankly, probably because of how much space there is here at Le Mans. Could have been worse. Could have definitely been worse, but definitely a very, very unfortunate situation for Jeremy Barber, who's now going to find himself down here in pit road, and still down in pit road. I would have to imagine going to be there for some time, getting some damage repaired to that number 4 machine for Team Lawn Darts. pit crew going to have a little bit of work ahead of them, but hopefully we will see that number 4 BMW back out on track before too long. Meanwhile, back into the LMDh class, it's Adam White, Dylan Meyer battling yet again for the 4th place position. They are door to door, almost wheel to wheel, you could say, with these cars, given they don't really have what looks like an actual door. I mean, they do, but whatever. Anyway, right as we tuned away from the LMDh class, we see Jordi Vermeulen, Nick Terrell. I keep wanting to say Alex Penn. Both of these drivers, they have been duking at it between one another for quite some time now. We've seen this battle happening for the past 7 laps, and frankly, it's surprising to see how equal the pace is of both of these drivers, and the fact that right now they've got a little bit of separation between them as they start to get into some GT3 traffic, where that will start to kind of shake things up here a little bit. So with Jacob Money leading the field, Jordi Vermeulen, Nick Terrell 2nd and 3rd place in the LMDh class. In the GT3s, it's Jared Ziegler leading the class and Renato Skoisev and Darren Rufford in 2nd and 3rd place. The Sapphire Sim Sport team having a phenomenal day here at Le Mans. VR Racing Blue gonna look to secure some good points here, as well as maybe even put some pressure here on Jacob Money, as we start to see the 040 machine really close in on the tail of the number 2. And they're making their way around a GT3 driver. They do so successfully. Jordi looks to the outside there for a moment, but not certain if he planned to make that. He definitely didn't plan for that, though. Jordi getting, I believe, a little too hot on the brakes there. That's going to send the rear end around and potentially even downshifting a little too early. I could be an issue there as well. I'm not 100% certain. I still have yet to get behind the wheel of one of these cars and drive them for myself and get an actual idea of what it's like to rip one of these cars around, but I can already assume wholeheartedly that it is not going to be easy regardless. Jordi Vermeulen showing we having a crash here as I was looking away for just a moment. Let's go back and take a look at what happened here. Or actually, we did cover this and I was just mistaken, but here it is. Jordi Vermeulen having that lockup and sending him spinning around, allowing Nick Terrell to move up into the second place position. But here we go, back to the live action. It's side by side between the two drivers with Nick Terrell to the inside through the chicane. Terrell's going to have the advantage in the Penn Sport 81 machine and back out to the front onto the long straight before they head into the second chicane, the fast left-hander, or the left-handed chicane, if you will. And you can now see the interval times on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see just how far some of these drivers are from one another. As we see back here, Adam Y under pressure from Dylan Meyer, the Weekend Warrior 21 machine, getting right on the tail of the 98 Valhalla Motorsports machine. And right now, looking like these two drivers are going to start to build up quite a bit of a battle as they try and manage their way around a GT3 vehicle. So with the dust having been settled and things have gotten to the point now in the race where you can kind of take it somewhat easy. You don't necessarily need to be 100%, fully locked in trying to make passes. I mean, you want to stay consistent. You want to stay hitting your marks, but you can take a little bit of a break. You can take a breather. Let yourself relax a little bit, as now it's time to put your head down. It's time to really get yourself settled in for the long haul and prepare for what will be a very long race, as, again, this track is absolutely massive, and there's not going to be a whole lot of opportunities to close any gaps once the field has truly gotten itself spread out. Which right now, if you're looking on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you can kind of get a better picture of what that separation is starting to look like. As we're looking with Nick Terrell, Jacob Money, Jordi Vermeulen, kind of in their own little pack here on the back half of the track where the long straights are. This is kind of, this is just the start of the separation that we are going to potentially see here over the course of the next 2.5 hours, particularly once we get closer to our expected pit window. I think is where that separation is really going to show itself. Speaking of pit entries, I have to imagine that a pit stop here. I wasn't exactly given any solid information, or any information actually, on what pit windows were going to look like, and so I'm gonna guess a little bit here, but I would have to say it's gonna be with around 50 minutes to an hour Somewhere in that neighborhood, I would say, is going to be the pit window for our LMDh class. GT3s would probably be a little bit sooner than that, around that neighborhood. And I'm sure that Joseph in the chat can probably highlight that a little bit more for me. And Joseph Penn giving me a little bit of insight onto these cars and how they're built. So the braking in these cars is actually very interesting in the sense that the front brakes are traditional brakes. They are regular mechanical brakes, how in what you would find on a normal race car or even your typical car today. But the rear brakes are brake-by-wire, which, frankly, I'm not experienced enough to really know what that looks like. I'm sure I could figure it out once I saw a picture of it, but off the top of my head, I don't exactly know what that looks like, so I can't describe it to you, but I can tell you without a doubt that is more than likely the reason why we're seeing some of these LMDh drivers locking up the rear. Because of that brake-by-wire, it is significantly easier to have that issue happen. And Joseph was kind enough to give me a little bit of an update for the pit windows, and I was almost correct. 55 to 65 minutes in the GT3s, and 45 to 50 minutes in the LMDh. So I was close. I was pretty close. So now that things have gotten settled out here, let's go back and reminisce here a little bit and go back to the start of the race where we saw the first bit of action start to develop here as we're going to watch with Jacob Money and see how his start happened here as Nick Terrell, Jordi Vermeulen both they start alongside one another. Jacob Money goes to the inside, takes it 3 wide, and there he is, gets the lead, but he also suffers a drive-off penalty, a off-track penalty, where he's going to have to give up that time. He's going to have to sacrifice a second, 2 seconds, whatever racing, the iRacing control decides or deems is acceptable for Jacob Money to have to sacrifice in. Dropping back down a couple positions to settle back in behind, I believe this is Jared Davis. Yes, it is, the 16 driver who we saw get into contact with, trying to remember, I believe it was Alex Penn? But since we didn't get to see the start of the GT3 classes start to tonight's race, let's go ahead and go back and take a little bit of a look here at how the GT3 classes race started. And it looks like single file for the majority of the field and a little bit of action developing towards the back, where we see some drivers going a little side by side with one another. And now that things have really shaken up, this is where we see a majority of the action having changed here. Again, most drivers staying within that single file line and looking to execute their lines to near perfection, as close to perfection as they can get it. So for the LMDh field, a little bit of a rocky start for our leader, but for the GT3s, a very clean single file start for the majority, or I should say, practically all of the GT3 field. But back to the live action, we're still watching along with Dylan Meyer, the Weekend Warrior 21 driver. as right now he closes in to Adam Y. And back up in second place in the LMDh field, we see Nick Terrell starting to put a little bit of pressure on Jordy Vermeulen in that second place spot here in the LMDh class. And here it is, almost like clockwork. Adam Y and Dylan Meyer both down in pit road a little bit earlier than expected for the LMDh field, by about 10 minutes, I'd say. But they are both opting to come down a little bit earlier. And Jared Davis having an incident a little bit earlier as well, a lap prior, actually. Let's go and take a look at this incident here for Jared Davis, the number 16 LMDh driver who we saw, oh boy, a big snap and a big wreck. Oh, man. And I don't know if you could hear that noise, folks, over your screens, but that was not what you want to hear. Let's bring this into slow motion so you can see it happen in real time. There it is. The rear end steps out, and he overcorrects it, and it just snaps the car sideways into the tire barrier, and away it goes into the other side of the track, almost flipping over in the process. Luckily, Jared Davis is going to be able to walk away from that incident unharmed, as, again, here in the virtual world, we don't have to worry about those types of things, and luckily, a virtual car costs nothing to replace, whereas a real LMDh car, you know what, let me find out how much. So apparently a 963, I think that's a Porsche, a 963 cost about 2.5 million euros, plus the operating cost of around 8 to 10 million euros a season. So again, here in the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series, all you have to do is just buy the car on iRacing, which is, I believe, $14 to $12, something like that. And you can race it however many times you want, and you don't have to spend millions upon millions of euros to participate in racing. So that's the lovely part of the virtual sim racing world as the action continues to develop here between Adam Y and Dylan Meyer. Realistically, the only track, or the only battle that we have happening on the track at the moment, as these drivers have just exited their pit cycle, or, well, exited pit road, completing their first pit stop of the race. Which, again, I find a little surprising, but right as I say that, Jacob Money, Jordy Vermeulen, Nick Terrell, they all make their way down here into pit road here as well. So, I guess not exactly too much out of the picture here, and may perhaps be indicating to at least myself up here in the booth that tire wear is perhaps a little bit trickier for these drivers than what's initially been expected. I mean, these drivers are really pushing this track. I mean, granted, you have a lot of straights to work with, but you also have a few technical turns that are really going to be using it and abusing the current sets of tires that they have. So we'll have to see if that's going to change before too long, but and I want to take a moment here to thank everyone for tuning in here today, and to all of you for supporting Team Goon Squad, being a part of the series, and whether you're racing in the series, whether you're supporting a driver in the series, or just enjoying the racing in general. thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being a part of the series and for helping us continue to grow this series and try and make it the premier endurance racing series on the iRacing platform. There's always things that we can improve on. There's always things that we would like to see improve over time, but you got to start somewhere, and I think for our second running of the TGS Endurance Series, I would say it has been absolutely incredible so far here in 2023. And for those of you watching, if you would like to be a part of the action, if you want to get in on the racing yourself, it is free to join. Yes, you heard that right. It is absolutely free. No cost to you at all. You can join the series. You can race a race if you want to. Try it out. See if you like it. And if you don't, well, you can tune in the broadcast. Watch them from there. The choice is completely up to you. And if you would like to join the series, head on over to our website, teamgoonsquad.com. You can find our Discord there where you can join, and all of the information will be located in our Discord. And if you would also like to support us here at Team Goon Squad and help us out to continue to put on these broadcasts, continue to put on these races, there's a couple different things that you can choose from. First of which, you can go to our website, teamgoonsquad.com, pick up a t-shirt, pick up a sticker, a coffee mug, a sweatshirt, whatever suits your flavor. All of the profit goes right back into Team Goon Squad to help us continue to put on broadcasts like the one you're watching now for our in-house series. And the next thing that you can also do here as well, if you would like to be a little bit more of an active supporter here for Team Goon Squad, you can head on over to Patreon. I believe there might be a link in the description. I could be wrong if there isn't. Please do let me know, folks. But head on over to our Patreon and you can subscribe to get some certain special features and really support us in a very big way to, again, help us continue to put on these broadcasts, help us continue to improve the racing series here as, whoa boy, Jordi Vermeulen making his way through lap traffic like it's nothing. And I would say right now, if I was on board, if I was riding with Jordi as a passenger, I would be, I'd be clenching whatever handle is near me right now, just trying to hold on for dear life. Ivan Chambers looking like he's got a little bit of trouble here in the 050 VR Racing pink LMDh machine. Let's take a look at the instant replay here, see what unfolded here. Oh, almost an exact similar incident to what we saw happen to Jared Davis. Adam Y also having a little bit of an issue here as well. Let's back this up here and just watch this again. We can see this happen again in slow motion. Again, almost the same exact incident that we saw with Jared Davis. Hits the almost same spot on the track and nearly hits the same tire wall, but instead slides across the track and hits the tire wall on the other side of the track and basically just damages up the opposite side of his car. So two similar incidents in the same exact part of the track. I don't know, folks. There might be writing on the asphalt if if you could consider it that. But we've also got another incident that we missed just a little bit ago here with Adam Y, the number 98 Valhalla Motorsports machine. Let's take a look here and see what exactly happened here for Adam. Oh, just gets into the grass or into the dirt there. It looks like oh man. I was going to say almost looks like he manages to walk away from that one with minimal damage, but scratch that. That front left is going to definitely need to be replaced by the pit crew. Luckily, Adam might might have already used his fast repair here, and it looks like he did. So for those of you that didn't catch it in the chat, Joseph Penn did mention that drivers are allocated one fast repair for the entirety of this race. So they have one opportunity to come down into pit road and get a fresh race car if they need to do so, but you have to use it wisely. We're watching along now with Jared Ziegler, the 02R red driver in the 04 BMW, as he currently leads the GT3 class, and really kind of what I'm looking for now is to see when the GT3s are going to decide to come down into pit road themselves. I'm wondering if the LMDh pit strategies here are kind of isolated, where, you know, they're just kind of playing follow the leader in a sense, you know, just staying with the guy ahead of them and coming down into the pits when they go down into the pits, so on and so forth. I'm not sure if that's, again, I'm not sure if that's an isolated decision by those drivers, or if what I assumed earlier about tire wear being a massive issue here at this track, which it very well still could be, and I still am inclined to believe that it is maybe not a massive issue, but still something that drivers are going to have to look out for. Let's actually take a moment to look at the weather here at Le Mans, as we haven't really touched on this yet. So 72 degrees is the ambient temperature here at Le Mans, and 76 degrees is our track temperature. So not exactly the hottest track surface to be racing on. Probably almost ideal, I would have to say. That's something I'm not exactly 100% confident with, to say the least. But I will say that it's not exactly the worst conditions that I have ever seen as far as temperature goes. So, and not a whole lot of wind to really be had. So ultimately, I would say these are going to be fairly optimal conditions for racing here today at Le Mans. And again, I'm not 100% certain if drivers in the LMDh class are just really beating away at those tires and trying to gain every tenth of a second that they can out of them, or if there's just undercut strategies being played, something along those lines. But again, that's just all kind of up to theory at this point. And now, I want to talk a little bit about our point standings here, but from what I understand, we've got a little bit of drivers are allowed to have 2 drop weeks throughout this season through the 2023 A portion of the season, and what that kind of boils down to is that points are going to change a little bit once things are all said and done here. But from what I understand right now, for the GT3 class, the team with the most points right now is Valhalla Motorsports, the number 213 machine. So that's going to be currently the driver of Matthew Wyckoff in the 213 Lamborghini. That's what I'm seeing currently. Now, Joseph Penn might be able to help me a little bit with this to kind of dissect a little bit further what teams are going to be doing what here, but I'm just reading off of what point standings I currently have. So again, if I get things a little bit mixed up, don't blame me. Don't shoot the messenger. Anyway, anyhow, Valhalla Motorsports currently still leading the GT3 class. So Matthew Wyckoff is sitting in that 7th place position. Going to be looking to hopefully try and push his way up this field a little bit. A position or two probably wouldn't hurt. And especially now as he has Nathan Lafayette in the 00 Penguin Racing BMW just behind him, starting to close the gap. He's really going to start to have to get himself into the defensive mindset and not risk losing that position. And Joseph Penn informing me. Oh, whoa, what in the world? Jordi Vermeulen going way off track here and suffering some massive damage to the front right. Let's take a look at the instant replay here as it's tuned to the wrong camera. We'll back this one up here. I'm wondering if it's the same portion on the track that we've seen drivers. It is not. So he gets onto the curbing of maybe a little bit too much. That unsettles the car. There goes the rear end. You can see the front tires lock up as he tries to slow the car down into the gravel and unfortunately into the barrier as well. We don't get quite a good shot of that here. We can kind of see it, but that's going to cause that front right tire to essentially just disconnect from the front end. You can see it here as Jordi trying to make his way through the track and try and limp this car into pit road to get it fixed. That's ultimately the only thing that you can do here. If I recall correctly, if a driver takes a goes back to pit road, has to take a tow back to pit road, then that will immediately start the full course yellow procedures, and a safety car will be deployed, if I do recall correctly. So not exactly something that you want to have happen on the field, and I think Jordi is well aware of that and doesn't want to be the driver to cause that. But man, that car is taking a beating just to get back to pit road. I mean, again, this is an 8.5-mile circuit. Oh, you can hear it too. It is just struggling. Let's just ride on board here for a second. Oh man, this car has definitely seen better days. You can see that front just bouncing and bouncing as that tire just desperately tries to hang on here with every last bit of its energy. So, back to, come on, Jordi, you're almost there, buddy. You got this. And as we are watching Jordi make his way around the track and trying to make his way down into pit road is a little busy with GT3 drivers making their way into the pits and starting their pit stops here today. And the first driver to come out of the pits is going to be Jeffrey Sykes in the O2R red machine. The 04 machine now going to be back in the lead spot and back on track with fresh tires, and gonna try and continue to increase the gap that he has between himself and Renato Koisev in that second place spot. And there it is, Jordi Vermeulen crawling that 040 machine back to his pit stall. Along with his teammate Ivan Chambers, the VR Racing pink machine. Both of these drivers not having an ideal race here at Le Mans. So, as we were talking about points just a little bit ago, I know we got a little sidetracked. Currently in the lead, again, Valhalla Motorsports. Matthew Wyckoff going to be one of those drivers currently looking to secure a win. Second place, Traumos Yellow, with third place being Traumos Pink. And, folks, these drivers are only separated by, it looks like, 31 points, 32 points is the max between first place and fourth place. And fourth place is Bluebird Racing, just to clarify as well. So any four of these teams in the GT3 class could walk away victorious today as we wrap up today's event. Scott Meredith, the 654 Motorsports driver, gonna look to pull the moves here on Matthew Wyckoff as he closes to the inside. Gets a good line on the exit here. Tries to get up to the door of Matthew Wyckoff in the 213 Lamborghini. Has to back off through this right-hander, but has a good exit as now he's right on the tail of the Valhalla Motorsports driver. Great battle between these two. They keep switching it up on one another, back and forth. Scott Meredith trying to do everything that he can to stay with Matthew here. And right here in this part of the track, this is where the technical ability of the driver has to prevail in order to keep these battles close. As we rode on the front end there for just a little bit with Scott Meredith, the 654 Motorsports driver, jumping right up on the curbs. Gotta love it. Alex Penn coming into pit road here for what I believe is the second time here for the 24 driver, and I can't say for certain what the reasoning is. Does not appear that he had any off-track incidents or anything of that nature. No damage to the car, it seems. But he goes up on the Jackson. Gonna get something done to the number 24 machine as we are just about an hour into our 3-hour race here at Le Mans. Not much longer before we see the crossed flags indicating to us that it is the halfway mark in today's race. Down the long straight, Scott Meredith, Matthew Wyckoff, they both gonna take it side by side. Scott Meredith gonna get the advantage. He moves up into third place, taking it away and into the top three for the 6.5 Motorsports machine. Matthew Wyckoff gonna try and find a response to that, as just behind them, a little bit more action starts to develop with Oscar Gergerson, Niels Blauwickel, and Marco Schmitz. Marco Schmitz, Niels Blauwickel take it side by side down the long straight. And Marco Schmitz is going to be the one to head out in front of the number 15 driver up into 6th place. Marco Schmitz with a 4-position deficit trying to move himself up the pack here. now going to try and get into the mirrors of Oscar Gergerson in the 227 Traumos Orange Machine. And the teammate, Oscar Gergerson, even though that they are competing separately for points, they are ultimately on the same team. And for Marco Schmitz, I think Oscar is very well aware how important it is for a Marco at this point in the race to try and get up the field as quickly as he can. Currently in the top 5 and showing in timing and scoring that he's got the pace to be able to track down Matthew Wyckoff just ahead of him in the 213 Lamborghini for Valhalla Motorsports. But while we have a little bit of a moment, folks, we're going to go ahead and ride on board here with Niels, and we're just going to take a little bit of time to enjoy the sights and sounds here at Le Mans for just a few laps, or just a lap or two. In the meantime, folks, grab yourself some drinks, grab yourself a snack, because there is still 2 hours left to go here in our final race of the 2023 A portion of the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series here at Le Mans. Stay tuned and don't go anywhere, folks. Enjoy the racing along with Niels Blauwickel, and we'll be right back in just a few moments. Welcome back, folks. That was your action on board with Niels Blauwickel in the number 15 machine, as he is currently working his way up the field for Team Bluebird Racing, the fourth team in the GT3 class that, if things go well for Niels, they could walk away victorious here for the 2023 A portion of the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. Dylan Meyer showing he's down here in the pits at the moment, and again, a little bit early for some of these LMDh drivers. Alex Penn came in just a little bit ago here as well. Jordi Vermeulen came in just a couple laps ago here as well. So not entirely certain what the idea is behind that there for these drivers. Maybe some issues that needed to be worked out, but unfortunately I don't have enough information to go off of to have an accurate idea of what's happening there down in pit road. Matthew Wyckoff, Niels Blauwickel, however, they go side by side here for the 5th place position in the GT3 class. Niels going to go to the outside, but that's going to open up the door for him to move up into 5th place. Matthew Wyckoff going to have to back off this time by and settle in along ahead of Oscar Gergerson. Just a little bit further ahead, Scott Meredith getting tracked down just a little bit by Marco Schmitz. As it looks like here as well, I'm seeing in timing and scoring, Jordi Vermeulen has called it a night here, has taken the car and it's going into the trailer, along with Jared Davis and Gareth McAllister. So far, the first 3 retirees of today's events. So as we're about 20 minutes now until we see the halfway mark in today's race, we're seeing some battles still developing here in the GT3 class. Relatively the same drivers who we've been following with for some time now, as the LMDh field seeing already 2 of its drivers find themselves retiring from the race here already. Ivan Chambers is also in a few lap deficit at the moment after the troubles that he's experienced today towards the start of the race. We can actually potentially go and look at that. Ivan Chambers, who suffered a similar incident here to Jared Davis, You can see that here as the car gets a little unsettled, gets the rear end spun around and narrowly misses this first tire wall here, but ultimately slides across the track and into, slamming the side of the car into the wall barrier here. Definitely not an ideal situation for either Ivan Chambers or Jared Davis, but for Ivan, that wasn't quite enough to call it quits, and he's still out there, still racing, trying to turn laps, as he ultimately was going to take a fast repair from that incident and get that car repaired as quickly as he could. Jared Davis, however, that was enough to say that is enough iRacing for today, and is just going to take the time to go enjoy, I would assume, the rest of the holiday weekend. And for those of you tuning in, for those of you watching stateside, happy holidays to all of you. I know that most of us are going to be enjoying this Memorial Day weekend and grilling out, barbecuing, drinking plenty and eating plenty of good food. I hope that every single one of you who is celebrating this weekend enjoys yourself and celebrates safely. Definitely do not go out there and be silly. A little bit of silliness is okay, but being outright ridiculous, I guess, is the PG way of saying it, is definitely not ideal. So, to all of you out there having fun this weekend, I envy you at this moment, but we are still out here enjoying the great racing nonetheless that we have here for the final round of the 2023A portion of our Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. So I certainly would not want to be anywhere else right now, as this has been quite a lot of great action, a lot of steady racing that we've seen already in what has been a little over an hour now into our 3-hour event. So with that being said, I would say there's still a lot of great racing left to be seen here, and still plenty of opportunities for drivers to kind of make mistakes here, if at all possible. As Tyler Book says, yes, that is precisely exactly. I won't repeat it, but yes. But to run through the field here, folks, and just to kind of cap off, or, well, maybe not cap off, but just to run through our top 5 of each class here. Jacob Money, Nick Terrell, Dylan Meyer, Adam Y, and Alex Penn, all the top 5 here for your LMDh class. That's going to be Team Sapphire Simsport, Penn Sport 81, Weekend Warrior, Valhalla Motorsports, and Penn Sport 24. In that order for your top 5 in the LMDh class. For the GT3s, it is Traumos Yellow with Renato Koisev in the lead for the GT3 class. Jeffrey Sykes with O2R Red, Marco Schmitz with Traumos Pink, and Scott Meredith with 654 Motorsports, and Niels Blauwickel with Blue Bird Racing, rounding out the top 5 for the GT3 class. As we are just about 15 minutes until we see the crossed flags here at Le Mans, indicating the halfway mark in today's race, and already it has shaped up to be seems to be a taxing race for some drivers here today. A lot of challenges kind of showing their face midway through the race, where we're seeing some off-track incidents, some drivers just finding a particular section of the track that really just does not seem to want to have cars on it at this point So seeing a lot of drivers trying to take extra precautions here, trying not to make any mistakes here, and really not try and put themselves out of today's race. Jacob Money currently leading the LMDh class with a almost 10-second gap between himself and Nick Terrell, the Penn Sport 81 machine. And as I say that, Money's going to come down into pit road, and that is going to be the start of what I would assume to be the official second stop here for our LMDh class. So right on schedule, it looks like Jacob Money is going to have things pretty much on a stopwatch at this point. So Nick Terrell, he's going to come down here as well, taking the cue from his crew chief that I'm sure is letting him know that leaders are coming down into pit road, and it is probably a good time to do the same here as well. With the track now at this point where everything is calm, everything is steady, there's not hardly any battles happening on track other than the one between Oscar Gergerson and Matthew Wyckoff battling for that 6th place spot. Everyone else in the track is ultimately just going to be focusing on, again, clicking off those laps, making sure that you're consistent every single time, and not trying to make any crucial errors here. So the GT3s, they're going to be looking at making their next pit stop here, I would say in about 3 laps. Jeremy Barber for Team Lawn Darts. One of the GT3 drivers having a rough day here as well, but I will say I do love the Pokemon paint scheme that he's got on there. I'm trying to remember what that Pokemon is called. But yeah, the positioning there on the front, Barber, is just perfect. Just absolutely perfect. And Joseph Penn is saying it's back to Lime Rock tomorrow and Monday for me, for the rest of the Trans Am weekend. Now that sounds like an absolutely splendid time, Joseph. I hope you have a wonderful time there. I definitely envy you for that. That is going to be a great time. I'm more than certain of it. Any time on a real racetrack is always going to top that in a virtual one, but we still love our virtual racing here. It looks like we've got a new driver in the number 98 machine of the Valhalla Motorsports LMDh machine. Tyler Anderson now going to be in the car, as currently he is going to be 5th place in the class at the moment, and right now, according to timing and scoring, it isn't quite on the same pace as the rest of the field. So hopefully for Tyler Anderson and for Team Valhalla, that pace will start to improve here, as I believe right now this is going to be his 2nd lap since coming out of pit road, and since the driver change here for Valhalla. But again, hopefully that gap, or hopefully the pace will start to improve here for Tyler as the race continues to progress on here. And for any of you out there who's listening to the broadcast now or is watching in the future, and if you haven't already heard my little spiel about supporting the Team Goon Squad series or being an active supporter of Team Goon Squad, again, just as a quick reminder, if you would like to pick up some merchandise, as Tyler Anderson there has a little bit of a snap heading into the first chicane. Recovers very quickly, though. Going to probably have to give up a few seconds here for cutting the course. But as I was mentioning, if you head on over to TeamGoonSquad.com, pick up some merchandise, a t-shirt, a sweater, a coffee mug, some stickers, whatever suits your flavor, all of the profits go directly back into Team Goon Squad to help us continue to put on broadcasts like the very one that you are watching here today, as well as putting on more races like this one and continuing to grow our ever expanding community of sim racers and like-minded individuals. And we try and provide as much of an experience for everyone who is a part of the Team Goon Squad family. At this point, it seems like ever since I started doing this whole broadcasting thing, the Team Goon Squad has only grown ever more day by day. It is absolutely incredible. And we've got Martha in the chat giving a shout out here, a big hoorah to Renato Koisev in the 127 Traumos yellow machine. It is looking like a good day here for Renato as he holds on to that lead and holds on to it with a nearly 8-second gap between himself and Jeffrey Sykes in the 02R Red 04 BMW. So for Renato, if he can continue to hold on to this pace and continue to click off laps as well as he has been, it is going to be a very good race day here for Renato. And for those of you that might have missed it a little bit earlier, we were talking about points a little bit for the GT3 class, and one of the teams that was mentioned was Traumos Yellow. So Renato in that 127 BMW, again, if he can continue to hold on to this lead here in the GT3 class, he will come away victorious as the GT3 champion for the 2023 A segment of our Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. And as for the LMDh field, Nick Terrell and Alex Penn were the two drivers that I mean, they're both teammates in the grand scheme of things, driving separate cars, competing for their own points. However, they were both looking to come away with maybe a little bit more of a battle between them, but it looks like Nick Terrell having the better luck here amongst the two of them, as he currently holds on to that second place spot. And folks, if you'll remember, whoever finishes ahead of the other after today's race, so if Nick Terrell finishes out here in second, he will be deemed the points leader and will come away victorious. Now, there could be an exception to that if Alex Penn is able to climb his way into third. I'm not exactly certain how many points it would net both of these drivers, but I'm more than certain that Nick Terrell might just be able to come away victorious and be crowned champion here for the 2023 A segment of the 2023 Endurance season. And back to the topic of picking up merchandise. If you do happen to pick up any merchandise, let us know. Send us a picture or tag us in an Instagram post, anything along those lines. We're also on Facebook as well. Let us know that you're supporting and representing Team Goon Squad. We always love to see the folks out there getting their own piece of Team Goon Squad merch and showing the world that, you know, slowly but surely Team Goon Squad is taking over the sim racing scene. I only say that kiddingly, but checking in with some of the midfield drivers that we have. Norman King here in the number 14 MSR car green, giving some of our other drivers on the track here a little bit of TV time, and again, just kind of looking around the field and seeing how other drivers are handling this point in the race, as we are just a few seconds away from the cross flags and marking the halfway mark in today's race. An hour and a half of very grueling, intense racing here at LeMans, and I admire every single one of these drivers here for their efforts, as this is definitely not an easy race to accomplish, and to be behind the wheel for 3 hours for some of these drivers who are doing it solo is just absolutely commendable. Now, granted, from what I understand, in a 24-hour race setting, most drivers would normally see a stint about this long, about a 3-hour stint behind the wheel when they are racing in a 24-hour format. So this isn't exactly out of the picture, too far out of the realm of possibilities here for some of these drivers who ultimately, again, this is more or less a learning series, a welcome to all series for drivers who are looking for seat time, drivers who are looking to get more experience in the endurance world, alongside drivers who have experience and are looking to also help other drivers, or at least just, again, find that seat time, find some extra racing time outside of their normal schedules to kind of, you know, keep themselves fresh and ready to go for whatever other series that they might have, or if this is the only one that they have, give them a reason to practice and compete. And as we have Ines Bothma in the chat pointing out that Renato is building up a very impressive lead, and that is without a doubt the case here, as he's up to over 10 seconds between himself and Jeffrey Sykes. So slowly turning up the dial here for Renato in the 127 Trailmos yellow machine. and slowly but surely just inching himself away from the rest of the pack further and further, lap by lap. And as we're finding out here a little bit of inside information, Jeremy Barber with Team Lawn Darts, the number 4 BMW for the GT3 class, finding himself out of the race after he's finding himself with a little bit of physical trouble after, from what I understand, being up for quite some time and running on very little sleep. Definitely does not make for a good combination for sim racing, or racing in general for that matter. So Jeremy Barber, after a valiant hour and a half behind the wheel, he is going to take it behind pit wall and try and get some rest. And hopefully Jeremy Barber will be back for the B portion of the 2023 endurance season, as we haven't got to see too much of Jeremy Barber in Team Lawn Darts, but I certainly look forward to seeing, hopefully, every single one of these drivers, all of these teams, as well as more of you who may be watching the series now, watching the broadcast now, and wanting to be a part of the action. We are always looking for more drivers, more teams to be a part of the series, and ultimately improve the quality of racing here for the Endurance Series. So, again, if you want to be a part of the action, if you want to get behind the wheel and race alongside some veterans of endurance racing, as well as drivers who are also learning the art of endurance racing, head on over to our website, teamgoonsquad.com. Check out head over to our Discord, and you can find all of the information that you need there. And remember, it is a free-to-enter series. The only thing that you need is the car that you're going to drive, as well as any tracks that you may need to purchase throughout the season. But there is plenty of time between each race, so it is not too much of a financial burden, so to speak, if you are finding yourself in a situation where you don't have all the tracks necessary but still want to be a part of the action. So you don't have to worry. You don't need all of them right away. You can still be a part of the action and get in some endurance racing for yourself. And just to talk a little bit about our next season, starting in July 1st, we will be heading to Daytona for the first race that will be the road course at Daytona. 2 weeks after that, we head to Monza. Daytona is the first race. 2 weeks after that, we head to Monza. 2 weeks after that, we head to Montreal, then Watkins Glen, Red Bull Ring, Indianapolis, Road America, Spa, Charlotte, Silverstone, and capping out the 2023 B segment, we head to Barcelona. So, again, if you want to be a part of the action, head to teamgoonsquad.com, join our Discord. You can find all the information there. There is going to be plenty of great racing to be seen for next season. Alex Penn in the 24 Penn Sport machine heads down to pit road, and he goes down off the jacks and waiting for the refuel before he heads out of pit road. But that will be his third pit stop of the race, and coming in a little bit earlier than the rest of the field has been as far as pit stops. And again, I'm not entirely certain what the strategy has been for Alex Penn in doing so, but I will say he has been putting up an extremely valiant effort to try and keep himself in the mix of things here, try and close the distance. Right now, he's got 27 seconds between himself and Tyler Sage, and according to timing scoring, the pace just isn't there right now. So maybe Alex is hoping that fresh tires will maybe help him a little bit to try and bring that down a little bit. But again, that is quite a bit of time to try and close out here in a race setting. So I don't know. Alex is definitely fighting with everything that he's got, and doing very well in doing so. But it is an uphill battle, I would have to say the least here for Alex. And it's all started at the very beginning of the race. I believe it was Alex. It was Alex and I want to say Ivan Chambers at the very beginning of the race that got into one another. And that's kind of what started this whole situation for Alex having to fight his way through this field. Donovan Johnston having some big troubles here in the 11 BMW in front end collision into the tire wall here for Donovan, the Team Ford driver. Takes the tow down to pit road, and I made a statement earlier saying how if drivers took a tow down to pit road that a full course yellow would be instated. That is obviously not the case here. I was mistaken, but I just needed to make that clarification, as we've seen a few different drivers already make that decision to take a tow back down to pit road to get themselves off the track and ultimately try and get things sorted out as quickly as possible. But unfortunately, even in doing so, they still have to wait that time down in pit road to kind of, I guess, not necessarily mimic, but punish you for taking that time or taking the option to get that tow. So you have to wait a certain number of minutes or however long before you are able to actually begin your quote-unquote pit stop, if you will. But Jeffrey Sykes here gonna find himself with Scott Meredith, the 654 Porsche, closing the gap between the two. And Scott Meredith showing he's got the pace here to be able to close the gap and potentially put himself up into second for this battle here, as he is right there, almost a quarter of a second now separating them as they head into the first chicane. And they go side by side. It is a drag race, a battle here for the second place position. Meredith going to be onto the outside, and that's going to give him the advantage to push up into second place. Jeffrey Sykes now going to be the one to have to respond as he tries to stay on the tail of that 654 Porsche. And right now it looks like the straight line speed of that Porsche is definitely not playing in the favor of the 04 BMW. The Porsches, I do believe, here in the iRacing surface, or in the iRacing service, if I recall correctly, do have a faster straight line speed than I think pretty much all of the GT3 cars. I want to say there's one more, but I don't remember which one it is. Joseph might have to help me on that one, but I know the Porsche is one of the fastest ones amongst the GT3s as far as straight line speed is concerned. Ford is the fastest last he checked. Okay, that I did not expect, and frankly, it's kind of funny to me that we've only seen the Ford GT here in the series. I think it was the first race. And then after that, the decision was made to change it to, I believe, the McLaren. And now nobody drives the McLaren. So it was... Actually, no, I take that back. Gareth was driving the Ford. I just didn't realize it. So I take that back. But here in pit road, we've got Renato Koisev making his way for the second time and going to be starting the second round of pit stops here for the GT3 class as Scott Meredith, Jeffrey Sykes also make their way down here into pit road. Okay, I misunderstood. It was the McLaren that we had that got dropped for the Ford. Okay, that makes more sense to me now. I just had it backwards. All right, so I wasn't completely wrong. I just had them flip-flopped around. Whoa, David Schmidt, Jared Ziegler go side by side here for just a moment, and I hope that I wasn't just talking to myself there for a minute. I hope that I wasn't, but as we tune back in here, Jared Ziegler, David Schmidt, they're nearly door to door as they try and fight for this third place position. Jared Ziegler trying to keep himself into the top 3. David Schmidt, he wants an entry into the top 3. But Schmidt going to have to back off into the left-hander here, allowing Ziegler to build a little bit of distance. And in the chat, Josue, I believe that's how that's pronounced. I apologize if I said your name incorrectly here, but saying interesting that Renato lost 6 seconds on the last stop. You know, in the thing about iRacing, in the way that iRacing handles pit stops, folks, is it's all based on your execution of your pit stop. So for those of you that don't know, for those of you that do know, you can kind of just tune me out here for a minute. But essentially, everything that you do coming into pit road kind of calculates how your pit stop is going to go and how long it's going to take you. So if you come into pit road too fast, if you're too slow, all sorts of things, if you miss your pit box, all of these things are going to basically make your pit stop take longer than what you would ideally want it to be. Now, granted, it's not going to be always a dramatic difference, but these little errors in pit road can cost you greatly. As Marco Schmitz closes the gap back up again to David Schmidt, and is starting to put the pressure with the 27 Traumos Pink Ferrari, and right on the tail of that 654 Porsche as they make their way through the first chicane here. And Marco Schmitz trying to build up some speed here, some momentum to slingshot his way around. You know, Sueya saying possibly Blauwickel underfueled a little bit here. And that is a good potential here. That is a good possibility that some drivers are taking that strategy of trying to save a little bit on weight. Make themselves a little bit faster by not putting in the maximum amount of fuel, shortening their stops here by a lap or two, but ultimately going to give them a little bit more top-end speed than that of the rest of the field around them. Marco Schmidt's getting the draft of David Schmidt down the second half of the long straight, heading into the left-hand chicane. Almost door to door, but Schmidt's going to have the advantage, or excuse me, Schmidt going to have the advantage here, as he has the inside line. And no, he does not. It's Schmidt's that's going to take the fourth place spot and have that top line, or have the speed to be able to overtake Schmidt here. Riding on board here with Dylan Meyer. You can see on the bottom right-hand side of your screen the current gear he's in, as well as the current speed in miles per hour, or as I've heard it like to be called, freedom units. But Dylan Meyer here giving us a little bit of an idea of what the top speed is like in an LMDh here as we come out of the last turn and across the checkered line. Dylan Meyer currently behind, I believe that's Tyler Anderson. Nope, that is not Tyler Anderson. Might be Jacob Money, actually. Nope. It's Ivan Chambers. Never mind. For the LMDh field, the third pit stops being made as Jacob Money and Nick Terrell, they make their way down for the third time this race, and really has been kind of setting the stage for the final hour of today's race. And from what we've seen, folks, this really looks like, if things all go well for the remainder of this race, it could very well be that Jacob Money will take home the win, but won't be able, to take away the overall championship here, as Nick Terrell currently still in that second place spot. And as his teammate and competitor, I suppose you could say as well, Alex Penn, still in that fifth place spot and still trying to recover from the deficit that he's been in. And as I say that, tuning in with him now, looking at timing and scoring, he's about 38 seconds from Tyler Anderson, but has now got the pace to be able to track him down a little bit and maybe try and chip away at that gap. By how much, I'm not entirely certain, as we're now an hour left, almost an hour left into today's race. I think it's going to have to take some sort of issues for the number 98 of Anderson to really kind of open the door up for Alex Penn here. But with how consistent these drivers have been throughout this race, I don't see that really happening here at this point. riding along here with Adam Oliveri with Team Humanaut, currently sitting in that 8th place spot in the 464 Ferrari as he makes his way through the final few turns and onto the front straight and across the checkered line. A little bit of an oopsie daisy there through the last chicane. Quickly recovers from it though as he makes his way across the checkered line. And just kind of taking a ride along here with some other drivers in the field, and again showing a little bit of love through to as many of our drivers out here that we can. As right now, the field is settled out to the point where there's not many battles happening, and it does not look like we will see very many forming here, even as we are in to our final hour of our race here today. So while things are settled out here, folks, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna take another little short break here, and we're gonna go ahead and listen to the sights and sounds here at Le Mans one final time before we end things out here. While things are still quiet out on the track, and we still have just under an hour left to go before we see the checkered flag, but things are calm, things are steady, and it does not appear that much will change here unless we see a massive incident happen, which I don't think will happen here tonight. So while we have that time, folks, we're going to go ahead, step away for a moment, and enjoy some onboard action here with, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I choose Renato Koisev. Let's go ahead and enjoy the sights and sounds here with Renato here for just a lap or two. That was a ride on board with Renato Koisev for a couple laps, and just enjoying some of the sights and sounds here at Le Mans as we are in our final hour here at Le Mans, and we are getting ourselves ready for what will be the GT3's final pit stops here in just a couple short laps here. I believe lap 39 is when the GT3 drivers are going to make their way into pit road for the final time. As far as the LMDh field, I believe it will be lap 44 will be their next pit stop, and after that, I'm not. They should be able to stick it out for the rest of their stint here on that final bit of fuel as well as tires. So one more stop for both fields, 3 stops in total for the GT3, 4 for the LMDh class. If you were following suit with the rest of the field, some drivers some drivers had some different strategies going on here, but for the most part, generally speaking, that is what we were seeing here today. And we can actually take a look at everyone's stint length here and kind of get a better idea of what everyone has been doing as far as pit road strategy is concerned. So you can see Jacob Money, Nick Terrell, they both had similar pit stop strategies here, as well as Renato Koisev, Niels Blauwickel, and Jared Ziegler. All 3 of these drivers in the GT3 class also having similar pit stops throughout today's race. So again, like I said just a little bit ago, a lot of these drivers having basically identical pit stop strategies here, kind of just playing follow the leader and making sure that they are staying within a few seconds of each other here. And Josue telling us up here in the booth that Ines as well as Josue are Traumos head of strategy / race engineer. So a very well-developed team that it seems like we have here today, and a very great pleasure to have such a dedicated and skilled team racing alongside us here for the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. So on behalf of Team Goon Squad, I want to thank you guys for being here today. Very unfortunate that you guys couldn't attend here today, but great to have you guys joining us here in the broadcast and chatting with us and just enjoying the race overall. I hope you guys have been enjoying your time, as well as everybody else who's been enjoying or watching the broadcast. I hope that it has been entertaining and that it gives you guys a little bit of an itch to want to get behind the wheel yourself and get in on some of this action. I know that right now things are spread out. Everyone's kind of in their own little groove, but honestly, that is just the nature of Le Mans. It's going to work out that way. Work out that way regardless of how many drivers you have out there on track, and frankly, the more drivers that you have, the more chaotic that it can get. So this is kind of a great balance of that, if you will. So with that being said, folks, I've said it already a few different times throughout this broadcast, but I definitely want to say it again. If you want to be a part of the action, please do head on over to our website, teamgoonsquad.com, and you can find more of the information on our website. Heading on over to our Discord, all the information is available there. So you know what? Nerd data is something I love. I love talking about technical details, and frankly, the fact that you guys are even talking about seconds of fuel and this and that just baffles me. So that I would love to kind of poke your brains on that and figure out how that all works. But for now, I'm enjoying chatting with you guys and getting a little bit of insight from the folks behind the scenes, if you will, the folks who aren't on the track but are in the ears of the drivers, and giving them all the information that they need to do what they do. And right now, it looks like, even though that both Josue and Ines aren't available in the race right now, they are confident in their drivers and in their team, and it shows, as Renato Koisev, Marco Schmitz, as well as Oscar Gergerson all doing absolutely incredible here, as Joseph Penn pointing out, and as we're tuning along with it here, Jared Ziegler, Marco Schmitz, they're both closing in the distance between one another, starting to form a battle for the third place position here in the third place spot in the GT3 class. Jared Ziegler going to have to fend off the mighty fast Ferrari, who currently is outpacing the 04 machine by quite a margin. I can't say by how much, but I will say that it is enough that timing and scoring is... It is predicting, well, not necessarily predicting, but I can predict that there's going to be a pass being made here, a pass attempt being made at some point in time here from Marco Schmitz. Oh boy. He's got to wait for the LMDh traffic to make its way through, but I think that might have even caught him off guard there a little bit, because he had to back that one off. And unfortunately dropping that gap down a little bit, and here it is, taking the opportunity to come down into pit road. One lap earlier than what I was expecting here. But Marco Schmitz, I think, taking a little bit of an undercut strategy, maybe. Josue, you might be able to fill me in on this one, but there it is. Marco Schmitz, he's saying, you know what, we're gonna rack it, stack it, try it again, and see what we can do next time around. And let's see if his teammates are going to follow suit here, as Renato, he's going to take it across the line, or has taken it across the line, so he's on lap 33 right now. I know that it's displaying lap 39 for you folks at home, but that is just the overall lap for the whole field. But the GT3s are currently working on lap 34. And Dylan Meyer, the number 21 driver in the Weekend Warrior machine, going to find himself down in pit road as well for the LMDh class. And a little bit earlier than might be expected here. Should theoretically be able to stay out the full roughly 45 minutes that we have left here. But I definitely think it might be cutting it a little close here. Oh, that's right. He did have that crash on lap 1. Okay. So Marco's on a different strategy than everybody else, and that would make a little bit more sense as to why he's coming in a little bit earlier. I think he has been doing that the entire race, but I just now noticed. Goes to show how much I'm paying attention. Alex Penn, the 24 Penn Sport machine, makes his way down into pit road here as well. Dylan Meyer still down here in the pits, surprisingly. Not exactly a traditional stop here for the 21 Weekend Warrior machine, or really traditional for an LMDh in general. But Dylan Meyer, after well over a minute-long pit stop here, makes his way out. And, man, I got to wonder what happened here for Dylan Meyer to have to stay down in pit road for that long. I can't imagine there was a penalty served of any kind, or I'm a little confused on that one. I might have to check in with race control, or maybe there was some other outside reason. I'm not entirely certain, but normal pit stops here for an LMDh range about roughly 30 seconds, give or take 2 or 3 seconds, but yeah, definitely a very interesting stop here for Dylan Meyer, and I mean, luckily he's not suffering as far as position is concerned, but again, still definitely interesting as we're now starting to see timing and scoring showing that there was a battle between Oscar Gergerson and Ivan Chambers here, but Ivan Chambers being a part of the LMDh field and down a few laps, he is currently on the same lap as the GT3, so trying to fight his way, just keep himself in the mix of things, and ultimately looking to just finish out today's race. David Schmidt down here in pit road for the 654 Motorsports machine. And as he makes the exit back onto the track, this will be the last stop again for the GT3s as they all begin to cycle their way in. And our race engineers in the chat pointing out that Niels Blauwickel may have short-fueled as well as skipped tires on his previous pit stop, which was on lap 34. Some very interesting insight that we're getting here from our racing experts in the chat. So I'm certainly enjoying all the little details that they're picking up on that I have not that I don't normally see in broadcast, so it's great to have that extra bit of insight as they're paying attention to details that I may not be looking for, as we are rounding into our final 40 minutes now of the race here today. Ivan Chambers is definitely on a mission here to try and get himself back up the pack and kind of in the mix of things, as right now he's, if you're looking at overall position, he's currently 8th on the grid, but ahead of him is Renato Koisev and Jared Ziegler overall, so still trying to put himself into the top 6 here overall, but it's definitely been a long and grueling fight here for Ivan. A very long race here, I'd have to say. But so far, right now, as things currently stand, it's Jacob Money still your leader overall, as well as for the LMDh field. Nick Terrell sitting in second in the LMDh class. Renato Koisev, your leader for the GT3s. and Jared Ziegler in that second place spot for the GT3s as well. So the final 40 minutes is all going to come down to just staying calm, staying steady, and ensuring that you're hitting your marks. Any mistakes here are going to cost you dearly, as depending on where you're looking on the track, it could be you have, over 10 seconds, 20 seconds, even 30 seconds in some cases, where you have time to work with to get yourself corrected and back onto track if you run into, you spin yourself around or something of that nature. But not everyone is going to have that advantage here. And interestingly enough here, folks, with roughly 35 minutes left to go here, we are now starting to see Nick Terrell close the gap to Jacob Money. He is within 8 seconds. That's still a lot of time left here, but according to timing and scoring, the pace is there for the number 81 driver. It's all just a matter of if he can continue to capitalize on this pace advantage that he has and try and continue to close that gap. But right now, that is going to be a very difficult thing to do at this point in the race. You want to push yourself. You want to try and shave a few tenths of a second, and that is exactly what you want to avoid here. Nick Terrell finding himself grabbing the grass just by a few inches on the tire, and that is enough to get the car unsettled and sliding around. But luckily, Nick Terrell, very, very good work here from the 81 driver, recorrecting it and keeping that car going in a straight line. Nick Terrell, absolutely fantastic racecraft here that is being put on display. Then almost a little bit of broadcaster's curse there, but luckily Nick Terrell is he's got more skill to handle my shenanigans. Ivan Chambers, the VR Racing Pink Machine, the driver trying to get his way back up into the top 6, but gonna come down into pit road, grab a fresh set of tires and maybe some fuel as well. At the very least, fuel. I'm assuming tires as well. But needless to say, this will be the last stop before finishing out today's event. And Nick Terrell, the 81 driver, making his pit stop here. We see him already in his pit box, getting tires and fuel, and getting himself ready to get back onto track to finish out his last stint for the race. And for all of the drivers here today that have been doing solo stints, I just want to commend you for your efforts and for just being able to stay behind the wheel for that long, especially on a road course. I know for those of you that may tune into our broadcast that happen Monday nights, well, currently Monday nights, and I believe Saturdays as well, or Sundays as well, excuse me. You can catch a lot of the oval racing that we cover here on the Team Goon Squad channel. And oftentimes we'll see those races go on for 2 or 3 hours, but I will say that oval racing definitely doesn't quite compare to the level of endurance that it takes, quite literally, that to stay on a road course as long as these guys are, especially with how fast these guys are going. Not to say that that oval racing and stock car racing isn't a challenge in of its own, but I will say that these cars are definitely a little bit up there when it comes to the challenge factor. And Darren Rutherford, the Valhalla Motorsports 213 Lamborghini, making his way down into pit row, signifying that it will be the start of the GT3's pit stops here, as we had in chat that from Josue, the top 4 in the GT3 should be coming into pit road within the next 7 minutes, and that was roughly about 7 minutes ago, so pretty much right on cue. Jacob Money, the race leader, coming down into pit road here as well, and with an astonishing 1 minute and 12-second gap, he is going to be relatively comfortable down here in pit road before he comes back out on track. But you also got to point out, I also need to point out and mention that Nick Terrell, he's already come down into pit road. He came in a couple laps ago, and he is closing in on pit road fast. Now, whether or not he is going to come out alongside with or even near Jacob Money, for that matter, I don't think is necessarily going to be possible here at the moment. Looking at timing and scoring, it looks like, yeah, there down goes Jacob Money. And out of pit road he goes. So, yeah. Frankly, I was half expecting to see Nick Terrell able to kind of close the gap there a little bit more than what he has. But unfortunately, not quite going to be the case here. But here onto the front road he goes. And perhaps bringing it a little bit closer than what I expected. But still, again, not quite going to be where he probably wanted it to be. About a 13-second gap separating Nick Terrell and Jacob Money. But Terrell going to have the advantage of warmer tires. He's going to have the grip advantage here going into the final half hour of today's race. And now that grip advantage won't last for very long, but while he has the advantage, he is going to try and capitalize on it as much as he can, try and close that gap if he also can. But that is easier said than done, needless to say. Jared Ziegler now makes his entry into pit road here as well in the 04 02R red BMW. Renato Koisev, our current GT3 leader, has yet to come down into pit road, and probably for very good reason. Trying to get as much of the life out of those tires as well as the fuel that he has. Only about, well, actually, now that I'm looking at the correct one, 30 seconds separating Jared Ziegler from Renato Koisev. So he should be in a relatively comfortable spot to come down into pit road and be able to get tires as well as fuel. Riding in the passenger seat of Renato Koisev's 127 Traumos yellow machine. Just getting another little bit of the action on board here, just enjoying the sights here at Le Mans and appreciating the racecraft here of our drivers. Oh, and it was pointed out, I actually missed it myself, but there was a crash here from Niels Blauwickel on lap 38 here for the GT3. So just recently, oh boy, into the grass. That sends him sideways, and oh wow, incredible. We got to back that up here. We got to back that up. That hit the rewind button on there. That is what a save here. Just look at this. He's already sideways. You can see him turning the wheel slightly to the right as he's trying to keep that control of the car. Sees himself going towards the wall, hits the brake, and just grazes the back end of that car. I mean, just absolutely incredible that he was able to save it like that. Renato Koisev as well as Tyler Anderson. Both of these drivers making their way down into pit road here. Gonna get their final pit stop out of the way. And Joseph Penn also verifying that Jared Ziegler, did not take tires on his pit stop. And so it will be interesting how it plays off with the tire wear at the end of the race with P1 and P2. So again, Jared Ziegler having not taken any tires here in his last stop, he's going to be racing on the same set of tires that he has been for, if I had to do the math, about 26 laps, roughly. Maybe a little bit more at this point. Which, again, folks, for those of you that may not know, this is an 8.5 mile track. Roughly 8.5 miles. I think it's like 8.46 or something along those lines. But you do the math. That is a lot of miles to be putting on a set of tires. And as Renato makes his way out of pit road, Jared Ziegler closing the gap to Renato rather aggressively here. About a 9-second gap separating these two drivers at the moment. And Jared Ziegler has the pace. Is he going to be able to capitalize it and continue to close it? As right now, Renato trying to put the temperature back into those tires and get back up to pace here. But it is definitely going to be interesting here for both Jared Ziegler and Renato, and how this battle potentially for first and second places may shape out. I will say I gotta mention now that I've looked at it closely, Niels Blauwickel here in the 15 Bluebird Racing BMW. I can't really decide which paint scheme is my favorite between Niels and Gareth McAllister's machine. Honestly, I'm kind of loving Niels's paint scheme here with the kitties all over it. That's a vibe. That's a whole vibe right there. I'm definitely digging that. But with that observation out of the way here, we are now cracked into our final 20 minutes of the race and starting to close the distance here. As speaking of closing the distance, Dylan Meyer, Tyler Sage Anderson now starting to find themselves in potentially a little bit of a battle for the top three. For the third place position, as I should say. Tyler Anderson currently at the moment has a little bit more pace than that of Dylan Meyer, but Dylan with under a half a second of a gap between himself and that Valhalla Motorsports 98 machine. The battle is definitely still forming between these two. As we'll ride on board the nose camera of the number 21 driver, just kind of get a little bit of a better perspective here. Doing a very good job of getting right to the rear wing of that number 98 machine, but still going to be just over now a half a second behind the number 98 driver. So again, Tyler Anderson having a little bit more pace than that of Dylan Meyer, but Dylan within a second of that number 98 machine. I'm sure he is going to be putting up a good fight to try and push his way into that top three. Checking back in with Jared Ziegler, who we were looking at a little bit earlier, just a few laps ago, who was closing the distance to Renato Koisev, and still is in terms of pace, but still has just under 7 seconds now to really get to the tail end of that 127 machine. So whether or not Jared Ziegler is going to be able to accomplish that here with now just about 15 minutes left to go, I don't think it's unfortunately going to be possible here for Jared Ziegler. If there was another hour in the race, different story. Definitely a potential for that to happen. But checking back in with Tyler Anderson, Dylan Meyer closing the gap once again, still showing that he is right there, trying his best to put up a fight here to get into the top 3. But it is not going to be an easy battle here for Dylan Meyer, as again, Tyler Anderson has the pace to stay in front of that number 21 machine. But is he going to have the consistency to stay in front is going to be the question here. Is Dylan Meyer going to be able to put the pressure on Anderson enough to make him step out of line, to make him step into the grass or into the sand? Any one of those things is always a possibility here, but it's all a matter of how confident you are as a driver and how susceptible you might be to drivers getting in your mirrors and applying the pressure. Riding on board here with the Weekend Warrior 21 driver, Dylan Meyer. Just getting some final onboard shots here before we close into the final 10 minutes of the race. And I think at this point, this is the moment that all of these drivers have been waiting for, as I'm sure that probably every single one of these drivers at this point in the race is going to be feeling definitely going to be feeling the wear, the wear of holding that wheel for so long and fighting these turns here at Le Mans. Granted, they have a little bit of brake time here on these straights where they can just hold the wheel in one spot and not really have to do a whole lot. So that does give them a little bit of time to rest their arms a little bit. But still, it is going to be a challenge regardless to be out here for a whole 3 hours. For drivers that are doing this solo, a whole 3 hours. For drivers that are doing this in a team setting, more than likely an hour and a half apiece or something along those lines. And as we're entering into... Oh. Joseph Penn pointing out that LMDh is usually an even split for drivers that are driving in a multi-driver setting. So again, that meaning drivers are behind the wheel for an hour and a half each, and for the GT3s it's split up to an hour and 2 hours, depending on which driver is the faster of the two will be out the longest. Depending on a full course yellow, as we have Tyler Anderson. Big mistake here. That is exactly what Dylan Meyer was looking for. to open the door up for the 21 Weekend Warrior machine. And Dylan Meyer drives it away into third. Let's take a look at that quick instant replay of Tyler Anderson, as I only caught it out of the corner of my eye. Let's see it firsthand yet once more. And oh man, I think that might have been, he touched the sand there. He definitely did. So if we play this in slow motion, maybe, oh, that's a horrible camera angle. We'll have to thank our camera crew for giving us all of these great angles here today. It actually looks like he got it sideways before he even touched the sand there. Just a little bit too much exit speed for the number 98 of Tyler Anderson. And again, that's exactly what Dylan Meyer was looking for, to have that door open up for him. Now he's in the top 3, and it's going to be a good day here for the Weekend Warrior driver if he's able to finish out these final 10 minutes without any errors. Now again, as we've just seen with Tyler Anderson, it is not out of the picture to have that happen here. So Dylan Meyer's going to have to be on his A game here, and realistically speaking, it's only going to be about 2-ish, 3 laps maybe, before we see the checkered flag fly, and we end out this race here today. So with that in mind, folks, it has been an absolutely incredible day here at Le Mans, a fantastic day of racing. And I'm going to say this again, as I have been a few times throughout the race already. If you want to support the series, if you want to support Team Goon Squad, head on over to teamgoonsquad.com, pick up some merchandise, a t-shirt, some stickers, a coffee mug, whatever suits your flavor. Anything helps, and it goes directly into supporting series just like this one, broadcasts just like the one you're watching, in future series, as well as real-life racing events that we may be participating in the future, if plans all go according to plan. So be an active supporter, get yourself some merchandise, and help us continue to do what we do here and be a part of it, whether it's being in the racing itself or whether it's representing Team Goon Squad in whatever way that you deem fit. And also, if you want to be a little bit more of an active supporter to Team Goon Squad, you can head on over to our Patreon and become an active member of our Patreon. You get special benefits, as well as being mentioned every race, post-race, where we display all of the Patreons that are active, and just giving them a little bit of love and trying to show our support for the people that show us support in every way that we can. So, again, pick up some merchandise, head over to our Patreon, whichever you would like to do. Anything is always appreciated, and it is always great to see the support that we get from our community. So, on that note, folks, we are rounding into the final 10 minutes of today's race and starting to see a little bit of a battle develop back here for 8th place in the GT3 class. Adam Oliveri back here in the 464 Ferrari, starting to close in on David Hudson in the Penguin Racing 00 machine. Just about a quarter of a second separating these two drivers, and really starting to get interesting here as Adam Oliveri has the pace difference to be able to get up to the rear wing of that 00 machine. And with about 7 minutes left to go here, I'm sure that Adam is going to be feeling the pressure of trying to crack his way into that 8th place spot. And David Hudson, I'm sure, also going to be feeling the pressure of having Adam right there on his tail. As we look out the rear bumper of the 00 machine, you can see Adam Oliveri there just lingering. Adam Oliveri now going to be right alongside David Hudson here, battling door to door. It is a shootout between the two as they come down the long straight, heading to the first chicane on the straights. Hudson's going to have the advantage of being in front. Oliveri trying to still close the gap. Great exit here from Adam. He's going to get alongside David now. And again, back to the drag race between these two as they head to the second chicane. David Hudson going to have that inside line, but Adam Oliveri, potentially, he's going to have the advantage here. Gets in front into that 8th place position. The straightaways providing a lot of draft support for these cars and allowing drivers to kind of slingshot their way around their competitors. Into the final 5 minutes of today's race, and Alex Penn comes down into pit road. Just a few minutes remaining here in today's race. And right as the sun is beginning to set, a great way to end tonight's race after a phenomenal 3 hours of racing here at Le Mans. Renato using every inch of the racetrack that he can there, and leaving some paint behind as well, just as a reminder. It has been absolutely incredible watching the domination that we have seen from both Jacob Money as well as Renato Koisev throughout today's race. These two have shown excellent racecraft here today, showing great consistency and ultimately proving that they are both worthy of wins. And speaking of wins, it does appear that Renato Koisev, along with Team Traumos Yellow, look to take away the GT3 championship after things are all said and done here. Nick Terrell, even though coming away with a second place finish here today in the race, will look to come away with the LMDh championship for the 2023 A portion of the 2023 Endurance season. There it is. The clock runs out. And as Jacob Money and Renato Koisev, they finish out their last lap here, and they will bring out the checkered flag to indicate the end of today's race. A long 3 hours here at Le Mans has ended in, well, will end in what will be a very good race here today for the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. As we see both Nick Terrell and Alex Penn doing a little bit of early celebrating here. You see the lights flashing from Nick Terrell. He is already ecstatic and ready to celebrate here as a very, very great... Oh, whoa, maybe spoke too soon. Wow. That just goes to show, folks, that you always have to be on your game. No matter, the race isn't over until it's over, and I think Nick Terrell may have just had a little bit of a pucker moment there, because I think his second place finish just flashed before his eyes. But I think he still would have been all right either way, but definitely not a situation you want to find yourself in the last lap of the race here. But there's Nick Terrell again, back to flashing the headlights. It's very slow here. I'm not sure if there's an issue there with the 81 machine or what the case might be, but he's definitely slowed the car down quite a bit, it seems like. He's definitely not hitting max speed, but that might also just be for a very good reason, as Jacob Money, he is working his way through the final few turns here at Le Mans, and once he makes his way out onto the front straight, the checkered flag will fly, and that will be the end of our race here today. There it is, the checkered flag waving from the flag stand. Jacob Money works his way through the final chicane and onto the front straight across the checkered line. And it is a victory for Jacob Money and Sapphire Sim Sport here for the number 2 machine in the final round of the 2023 A segment of the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. that's why he's driving like that. After closer observation, Nick Terrell having front end damage to that front left wheel. That thing is definitely not supposed to face that way. It might even be the whole front end that's all crooked now. Yep. I'm not sure if that's just iRacing kind of, no, it's definitely not. He definitely tweaked something in the front end there. And that is the reason for the caution, or the slower pace here of Nick Terrell as he comes across the line to bring home second place here in the LMDh class. A very close call here for Nick Terrell in the final lap in the chicanes on the back straights. Ivan Chambers here, trouble for the 050 machine. Tries to get himself spun back around in the right. Oh boy, he is having big troubles here. But he's already finished the race and he's going to take it back down into pit road as Renato Koisev comes out of the final turn and across the checkered line. Brings home the win for the GT3 class as well as the championship. Congratulations to both Renato Koisev and Nick Terrell on their championships here for the 2023 A segment of the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. As the rest of the field makes their way across the line and gets themselves wrapped up here. Some drivers enjoying some leisurely time here in the first chicane. But as we wrap things up here, we're going to go ahead and get ourselves ready for our post-race interviews as soon as we start to see some drivers make their way into the waiting room. Jacob Money doing a very well-deserved celebratory burnout on the checkered line. Right, as we're still just awaiting for drivers to make their way down into our waiting room so we can begin our post-race interviews here. Folks, I just want to take this quick moment to thank everyone who's been tuning in here today. And enjoying the racing here. It has been a fantastic day of racing here at Le Mans, and we're going to go ahead and our first interview that I suppose we're going to start with, since this is the first driver that excuse me, that we have available, we're going to talk to Mr. Nick Terrell. Nick coming home with the second place spot in today's race in the LMDh class. But Mr. Terrell, you are champion for the 2023 A segment of the Endurance Series. How does it feel to be champion?
It feels pretty good. It was gonna be a race with Alex in this track here, this last race of the season, and I was glad he didn't have the pace that I thought he probably would have, and just glad it was clean and was able to finish it and not on a trailer or something.
Absolutely, I think I think a lot of drivers were probably feeling the same way after tonight's race. Unfortunately, seeing a few more drivers than we probably would have liked falling out of the race here due to various reasons, but. I mean, despite all of that, it was still a great race, a lot of action to be had, and when things kind of settled out, it kind of became a matter of attrition and just being able to stay consistent, and it really didn't look like you had too much issue doing that here today. Now, the one thing that I do want to kind of talk about with you here, Nick, is at the very start of the race, both you and Alex, I mean, you guys looked like you were going to have a fairly good start to the race, and then Alex getting into a little bit of an incident and falling back to essentially the back of the pack and having to fight his way through. What was kind of your initial reaction to that?
Well, I started on pole, and Jacob had a really good run out of the right there, and it was just all sorts of chaos that first lap. It was probably good for the broadcast. It was really fun, kept it pretty clean. At that point, I was like, I don't want to fight real hard. I want to just try to get in line and just get some time and laps down and see like where the things all stack up at the end. And that's what I did up until about that last lap after I pushed and was going for fast lap. And then the last lap, I was trying to go for fast lap again because I saw a battery. And then that's where I smashed the car and smashed the car again and had to limp it around that last half of the lap or so with my steering wheel literally at 180-degree difference, where I had to be using the left hand to upshift and the right hand to downshift, and my left hand to push the torque. I'm not used to that, so yeah, I was all sorts of screwy that last lap. Just glad it was the last lap.
Yeah, better on the last lap than on the first lap is I'd probably say is the best way to describe that. But Nick, it's been a phenomenal season for you in the 2023 A segment. What's kind of your expectations here going into the 2023 B portion? Now that things have wrapped up, we've got a couple months to kind of take a little bit of a break and prepare for Daytona. What's kind of your game plan for Penn Sport going into the opening race of 2023 B?
Just probably keep the same status quo. Just try to keep clean, because if you're not keeping it clean, you're not going to finish races, as we have seen in some other examples of races like last week, Nürburgring and such. It's just one of those deals. You got to think of the ending of the race at the beginning and pick your battles and choose your risk accordingly. And just always have to hope it ends up well.
Absolutely. Well, Nick, I want to thank you first and foremost for joining me up here in the booth. I appreciate your time, and I want to congratulate you again on both your second place finish as well as the key point here, your championship here for the 2023 A segment. But before I let you go and crack open a very, very well-deserved cold one, anyone you want to shout out, anyone out there watching the broadcast, in the pit crew, the floor is yours.
Yeah, of course, thanks. I'd like to thank the Penn brothers for sure for just being kind of a stable group to be able to assess, and we'll kind of work together on things and talk about stuff and all that. And then, of course, TGS, James, you, and all that for the broadcast and putting it on, and advertising and all the communication and coordination. It's great. And my better half of the house here that tolerates me doing this for a hobby. And in fact, even this morning, or earlier this afternoon, she was like, "Don't you have a race today?" As it was like registration was already like opening up. And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right." And she called out the time more accurately than what I did today. So I came right upstairs and got logged in. Just thankful for everyone that puts it on, and people that, of course, the racers that come and compete and week by week and month by month and keep putting time in. And it's just a good group. Thanks a lot for TGS and everything.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Nick, for joining me up here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next segment of the season, and I hopefully get to talk to you again as the season progresses.
Thanks again, Mason. I'm looking forward to checking out the broadcast.
Absolutely. You have a great one. Alrighty, folks, so that was Nick Terrell coming home with the second place finish here at Le Mans, but with the win for the championship for the LMDh class. Up next, we are going to talk to Mr. Jacob Money coming home with the win for Sapphire Simsport. Jacob, it was a phenomenal day for yourself out there. You kept consistent, you kept calm, you really put on a great performance out there. You finished out the race with just about a minute and a half separating yourself from Nick Terrell, so you definitely had plenty of room to work with, and it really did not seem like anything was really kind of putting up too much of a fight for you, I guess is the easy way to describe it. Jacob, I mean, you didn't start out in first place, but you definitely intended on finishing there. What was kind of your initial thought process going into today's race? What was kind of your game plan coming into the night?
Yeah, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, obviously, because I've not been around for most of the championship, especially this first half of it. Looking forward to the second half anyway. But yeah, I didn't really know what to expect coming into this race. I hadn't really done much running, so it was sort of just winging it on the night. I literally picked up a setup 10 minutes before the session opened. And
Love it.
yeah, I had a couple of incidents during the race, just a couple of little half spins, but besides that, lap time seemed to be pretty consistent. The gap seemed to grow a bit, and then it would come back a bit to Nick, and then it would go out again and come back. So it was a bit here and there the whole race, but no, got it done in the end, and yeah, good fun.
Absolutely. And kind of, I know that you mentioned that you weren't really able to kind of be around for the entirety of the A segment of this season, but what's kind of your outlook going into the B portion? We've got about 10 races for that, for the B segment. Do you plan on attending more of the races next season, or what's kind of your game plan there?
Well, I hope to attend more of the races. It's just
I
to sort of wait and
so.
see what I'm available for. So, yeah. No, I'll definitely keep an eye out for certain tracks on the calendar in the second half of this season, because there are a couple which I would quite like to drive, and yeah, just sort of wait and see what happens.
Well, Jacob, it's certainly been a pleasure getting to broadcast today's race and getting to witness your win here today, but also having your support here as a driver in the series and just being an active driver in the series as well, even though it's not every race, but it's always great to have you out here and really showing these guys how to get it done around here at Le Mans. But Jacob, before I send you off here and crack open a cold one and celebrate with your fellow drivers and probably get to rest after a long race here, is there anyone you want to shout out, anyone you want to thank before you go here tonight?
Yeah, probably my team at Sapphire Simsport. They were on call, and a couple of them were doing a different race this evening, and they finished fourth. So, congrats to them, and thanks for keeping me company. Time for bed.
Absolutely, yeah. I was gonna say it's probably pretty late for you, Jacob, but I appreciate your time. I appreciate you spending the time up here in the booth, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully in the B portion, and hopefully I get to talk to you again there.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Absolutely. You have a great night, Jacob.
Yeah, you too.
Alrighty, folks, Jacob Money coming home with the win for the LMDh class here tonight. Last and going to be not certainly least here tonight, Mr. Renato coming home with the win for the GT3 class as well as the championship for the GT3 class. Renato, you must be feeling on top of the world right now. You put on a fantastic performance, and it wasn't without a lot of struggles along the way. Maybe not necessarily struggles, but a lot of fights along the way, moving up 8 positions from your initial start all the way up into first. Renato, how are you feeling right now, man?
Oh man, I can't describe it. It was an impressive thing. It's all about consistency, right? So that was what was going through my mind the whole time. I messed up my second lap on the quali, so couldn't actually get where I should probably be. But yeah, that's on me. It's just a mistake. We go after that, and we had 3 hours to go. So I just started there on the back, and what was going through my mind was like, we have 3 hours to go. I can't crash this car right now, and just get out there, warm up these tires, find the pace, and keep going. Then I saw those 2 cars passing by, including the Ferrari. That's another Traumos member. and it was a mixed feeling. Like I'm getting some positions for free, which is awesome. But yeah, Marco's been leading the championship for quite a time. I truly think he deserved that. And to be honest, I just figured out from you that I'm on the top of the championship as well. I didn't manage to get any math done. But yeah, during the race, I was trying to watch the gap, but not to pay too much attention to that because it can get distracting. But yeah, by the end, that's when we start looking around and checking where the other cars is, if they had to stop again on a pit stop to get a bit more fuel or something like that. And then it was about managing the gap. It was closing sometimes and then expanding again. So I was just monitoring that, trying not to push too much because you all knows that this lap, it likes to slow you down. I had plenty of slows down during the race, but yep, that was the summary of my race, man.
Well, I think you summed it up very, very well. I mean, I don't even think I really have much to go on top of that. But Renato, I mean, you absolutely came in today, and even despite the challenges that you experienced in the opening lap, you managed to fight through it, overcome, and prevail. I think definitely an underdog story to take home, to say the least. But Renato, I mean, kind of taking away the momentum here, taking away the championship that you've gotten now in the A segment of this season. What's kind of your outlook now going into the B segment? You're going to be the man to beat now. You know, both of your teammates have done phenomenally well throughout this season. What's kind of your game plan now? Are you planning on trying to keep that championship, or are you what's kind of your predictions, I guess you could say, for the B segment of this season?
Yeah, I think the whole team is pretty happy with the performance we put it down, and we're still quite starting as a team, so we're still figuring out how we share content and how we improve on the pace of each other. So I think that as a team, there's still a lot to go on that area there. But for the B section of the championship, I would love to keep racing. Obviously, we have a team boss, and we're gonna see what the boss thinks about that. But yeah, I would love to keep racing. There will be a bit more races than this first half of 2023. So I have to check how that will fit with the schedule going ahead. But yeah, man, I'm hyped. I want to keep racing. I just disagree that I'm the one to be beaten here. There's a lot of faster guys. I think I got a bit of a lucky in a couple of races. I had a lot of help from Team Mike and when we were racing Nürburgring Nordschleife, and Joshua was stupidly fast. He's an awesome guy out there. He made a pole on that race, and we won that race because of him. So that was super cool. So I think we might be the team to be beaten on the second part of the championship. But yeah, I'm definitely not the strongest. Not even in the team, man. It's even more on the races around.
Well, Renato, even with that being said, I think you definitely you made a statement here today that, you know, even though you might think that you're not the fastest guy, you were definitely the fastest here today, and I think we'll definitely see more of that as we continue on into the B season. But Renato, I want to give you this time to give your shout-outs. Anyone watching the broadcast at home or in the pit crew, give your shout-outs and thank yous before I send you off and crack open that well-deserved cold one that I know is sitting in your fridge right now.
All right, man. Yeah, I need that celebration. Yeah, there's a couple of people I would like to thank. And first of all, be my wife that managed to put up with all the hours of practicing, all the YouTube videos I'm watching around, and all the long lectures I give out about how the race went and how I want to improve and all that kind of stuff. So I know I take a lot of her time as well. So yeah, thanks a lot to my wife. I want to thank my family, obviously, because I have these guys at home that they support me for whatever I decide to do. And I told them I was racing cars on a video game, and they were like, yeah, go for it, and all that kind of stuff. So it's awesome to have that unconditional support, and I love them all. And third but not least, the whole team of Chalmers. I think I got a lot of support from the guys. We do discuss setups and all the other stuff that are going on, planning for the races themselves and strategies and all that stuff. So that's all on this group of people that made this possible. Thank you all. And obviously, before I forget, the guys that organized the bloody thing, yeah. So thank you guys that get the TGS thing going. It was an amazing experience with all the race management and everything. It really feels like taking part of something professional, and it's just an awesome experience. Thank you all.
Well, thank you very much, Renato, for the kind words, and thank you for being a part of the series and in helping be a part of what we're trying to grow here and continue to improve upon. But Renato, on that note, thank you for joining me up here in the booth. Congratulations on both your victories here today, both the win and your championship, and I look forward to seeing you in the B portion of next season.
Thank you, Mason, and I'll get out, find something to eat, because it's almost lunchtime here in New Zealand. So yeah, I'll get out and fill my belly now.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time to get something good in your tummy. So I'll let you get to that, Renato, and hopefully you have yourself a good rest of your weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you hopefully in the next one.
Cheers, brother. Have a good one.
You
See
as
ya.
well. Thank you. Alrighty, folks. That is going to do it for our post-race interviews here today at Le Mans, and then going to wrap up our coverage here of the final round of the 2023 A segment of the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. As always, folks, you know the drill. If you tune in regularly, you will know exactly what I'm going to say. If you enjoyed what you saw here, hit that subscribe button, catch all the action that we have here on Team Goon Squad almost 7 nights a week. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. Lets us know that we're doing an okay job up here in the booth. And folks, it'll be a couple months before we come back here to the Endurance Series, but make sure you tune in July 1st for the race at Daytona. That will start the B portion of our Endurance Series. And for those of you that would like to show further support for Team Goon Squad, head on over to teamgoonsquad.com, pick up some merchandise, or head on over to our Patreon and get subscribed there. And every bit always helps, and it goes directly into broadcasting, race sessions, all of the above, everything that goes into running these series and so on and so forth. It always helps, and we always appreciate it. So on that note, thank you all for tuning in here today. I hope to see you all in a couple months' time. And thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you all next time.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Up now as we've got 3 wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the 1-on-1 up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Oklahoma International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.